East African leaders have been meeting on the crisis in South Sudan, but Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir did not attend the Kampala meeting as expected. He was represented by his foreign ministry. Many were surprised when President Bashir earlier this year traveled to South Africa despite an ICC warrant for his arrest. The meeting was to assess the progress so far when it comes to the renewed South Sudan peace talks. Leaders also discussed options should the peace deal deadline of August the 17th be missed. The regional body IGAD had threatened sanctions should the deadline be missed. The leaders also discussed economic issues like oil pipeline development.
In fact, I was surprised when Bashir went to South Africa that they were trying to arrest him, but that cannot happen here. If we are the ones who invited him, if he came, nothing will be done to him. We would protect him. Because it is not only protecting Bashir, it is also our honor.
Our interest is to interlink our region. And we cannot do so and we cannot achieve our objective if we have the attitude of leaving some people out. We don't want to leave anybody out. We want to develop together. We want to move together. We want to open up all these corridors so that our people have the option and our investors have the option. And we must not only just look at looking at one corridor or another. All these corridors are important for the prosperity of our region, and we will continue to partner together with all East African community countries to achieve that particular objective.
Well, let's get you more perspective now on that story. And I'm joined in our Nairobi studios by Mwenda Mbijiwe. He's an analyst and advisor to South Sudan's government. Mwenda, welcome to Africa Live. Now, East African leaders are once again meeting on the South Sudan situation. In your opinion, though, how has Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni fared as the regional mediator to that crisis?
Good evening, Beatrice, and thank you for having me. President Museveni has been like a regional father, considering that he's the longest serving president we have in the region now, all the countries of the East Africa bloc. And so I think him fairly as an elder statesman, elder brother, he's done what an elder brother could do. I mean, remember when crisis was in Juba, first thing he sent his troops there to secure the airport, to secure the presidential palace. And that's what a brother does. You don't let your younger brother completely sink into chaos. And on the front lines, on the negotiation frontier, he's done very well. When IGAD and the rebels accused him of taking sides, he withdrew and took up a peripheral role. So I think as a brother, as an elder statesman in the region, he just did what he could do.
Well, Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir was also invited to today's meeting. Why is his role and the role of Sudan, though, in the South Sudan peace process, why is it so important?
You know, Beatrice, President Bashir has been accused, especially by the South Sudan government, of, being the force behind the rebels. And a lot of reports, even intelligence reports, have indicated that Riek Machar and the rebels have accrued a lot of support from Khartoum government. And President Bashir's presence, therefore, is very important, that he would be there and answer those questions directly from the regional leaders who would ask him, are you really for peace, or are you, working towards the disintegration of South Sudan? On the other hand, it's also known very clearly that, Riek Machar spent the longer part of his life in the 90s in Khartoum, and so he's still accused of having, that connection with Bashir's government, and it's important for Bashir to have come clear about that accusation.
Well, Mwenda, on the peace talks themselves, though, do you think the warring sides in South Sudan will stick to the latest deadline of August 17th to form a transitional government, given the fact that there have been a lot of stumbling blocks along the way to that peace process?
Beatrice, I would like to look at, this situation differently. I do not think working with a deadline is a problem for the government of South Sudan. Working with a deadline, though, is a problem for the rebels, because since the crisis began in 2013 December, we know now clearly that indeed the opposition, the rebels, have disintegrated into various power blocks, And it's very difficult for Riek Machar himself to pull together the rebel force and say, we want to come to the negotiating table as one. So government wants to have peace, but the rebels will never be able to put peace together because they are already a very disunited front. Of course, also, to understand the peace process, what are the terms on the table? To say, for example, that the government should give 70% of its power to the rebels, I mean, is weird. To say that the government should yield a part of the country to the rebels is weird. To say that the government should allow two military forces, one for the rebels and one for government, I mean, that is brewing a disorder of the highest level. So the terms on the table are what will determine if that deal is achievable by the deadline or not. However, if we don't achieve the deadline, we know South Sudan as a very resilient nation. They fought their own battle for 3 decades without anyone's help,
right.
And I think they will do it even this time.
They may do it within that time frame, though, but mediators have also accused both sides, I beg your pardon, of lacking the political will to create a lasting peace in South Sudan. But this war is costing not only the people of South Sudan, but also the reputation of African mediation. How will the country recover from all this? Is there still time? Can it recover?
Yeah, they can recover. I mean, you see, for example, President Kenyatta on Madaraka Day in Nairobi asked a group of former leaders in that country who had joined the opposition, who were staying in Nairobi, to go back home and, you know, join in the reunifying their own nation. And they went back. For example, Pagan Amam is now among the top leaders of the SPLM. And you see many others, and the government has accommodated them into their system. Now the question is not even onto the mediators, it's onto the warring parties themselves, and especially the rebels and those that are opposed to the government of President Salva Kiir. Do they really want peace in South Sudan? If they want peace in South Sudan, the government of Salva Kiir has opened their hands and their hearts, and they are saying, we are comrades, we fought together for this country, please come back, let's build our country together. And I don't think any rebel group would find a more welcoming hand than the one that President Salva Kiir and his government has shown this rebel movement. All
right, Mwenda Mbijiwe joining us there in our studios in Nairobi. He's an advisor to South Sudan's government. Thank you for joining us on Africa Live.